Hey there, ghouls and ghosts. Welcome to Seven Scorpion Tarot. I am your host with the most, and I want to welcome you to tonight's reading. So, for tonight, I want to do a reading on the moon in Taurus. We're coming out of that full moon in Aries energy, so I want to get a little more information on where we're moving into. So, I've got some tea and some notes, as per the usual. So, let's get into a little bit of the mythology, the Taurus traits, and then we'll get into the reading. So, the bull in mythology. So, the first example that comes to my mind is the Minotaur, however you want to say that. So that the Greek myth of the half bull, half man, who was, and I guess you could use the word imprisoned by his father in, well, not technically his father, stepfather. Gets a little weird. We'll get into it. But imprisoned in the labyrinth. So King Minos he prayed to Poseidon for a sign, and that sign was a snow white bull, which he had failed to sacrifice to Poseidon, to honor Poseidon. And in retribution for that, Poseidon arranged with Aphrodite to have King Minos' wife fall in love with the bull. And in a very Trojan War-esque fashion, a wooden bull was crafted for her to occupy, so that the Minotaur could be brought into existence. For me, the Minotaur really embodies a personification of shame, of our regretful actions, because it was the actions of the king that brought this creature into existence. However, it's not fair to the Minotaur to be imprisoned in that way, as he's, caught in the middle of this, is a product of the king's actions, of failing to hold his promise to Poseidon to sacrifice the bull. So I feel like this is a very good allegory for the shadow, because there's so much shame that often lives in each of our shadows. And it also provides a good visualization exercise for active imagination, if you're familiar with that. This is different than daydreaming. This is active imagination in regards to Carl Jung. It's a technique that he had developed to access the unconscious mind while conscious. I believe it was in the Red Book, which is a compilation of the Black Books, if I'm not mistaken, journals that he didn't intend to publish, that were released, I believe, about 50 years after his death. He described this process of active imagination. I think it was about a 2-week period that he did a really, really deep dive into his psyche. And the way that he describes it was that it was like the ground giving way beneath him. This would be, like, the way I look at it is an alternate to dreaming, because, like, I take medication to manage nightmares. And unfortunately, my dreams kind of go with that. It's a necessary evil to keep me being a functional human in society. And but I still want to access that information that's in my subconscious. I feel like it's really important to what lives in my shadow, into progressing along in the healing journey. I would recommend talking to a trained therapist that is familiar with active imagination, prior to getting involved, too heavily involved in it. Uh, I have yet to actually break through the barrier, but I'm taking it very, tiptoe, like one step at a time, very Taurian, steady paced, just one foot in front of the other, not trying to rush the process, because these exercises can be really, really difficult on your psyche. So I just want to exercise some caution and advise some caution if you decide to go down that route. I feel like a labyrinth is a good visualization exercise for active imagination, just because it's so really represents, I think, that path down into the deeper layers of your mind. So just something to think about. And the next reference I have here is actually a movie, The Last Unicorn. It's one of my favorite movies as a kid. I always think of that Red Bull from the movie when thinking about Taurus. I think it's because my Mars placement is in Taurus in the fourth house, so a Red Bull is really fitting for that. But so, but I think there's a lot of symbolism in that movie as well, because the bull is driving all the unicorns into the sea, and this bull is like a fae-like creature, at the command of the king. And so the commander of the material realm is trying to drive down the representatives of the unconscious to where we can't access them. So that might be a point of reflection of, is your conscious mind, which it probably is because this is what we do, driving things down deeper into your psyche, repressing them as opposed to processing them. And this could also be a reference to the Fae, if the Fae are important to you in some way. And so, Taurus traits. Uh, Taurus is ruled by Venus, the Roman name for Aphrodite. So it kind of calls back to what we were talking earlier with the myth of the Minotaur. So the traits, some of them are sensual, loyal and dependable, possessive, and straightforward. So a little bit of both the shadow and the ego traits, and that last one, straightforward, I think can be really interesting as an expression of the ego and persona, or the shadow. I know I've been very direct in situations that I could have been more tactful. So, what I want to read on tonight is what lies within the labyrinth. So, I want to do a little bit different of a spread than I've been doing recently. So, we'll pull some cards for the middle to see what what lies at the center of the labyrinth, and then how do we get into the labyrinth and how do we get out. And if you ever find yourself in a real world scenario where you are caught in a labyrinth, put your hand on the right side of the wall and just keep walking with your hand on the right side of the wall. You will eventually come upon the exit. But I don't know if that'll work in your psyche. So let's see what's going on in the middle. We'll see maybe what lesson lies at the center of the labyrinth. And I love that movie, The Last Unicorn. I just watched it a little bit ago on Prime. So good. I love that animation style and Schmendrick. The greatest wizard of them all. Let's see. Is that just one? Let's do. I'm taking two then. Lightning and the Serpent. Ooh, okay. So we've got a 30 and a 46. So a 10 and a 3, or a 1 and a 3, depending on how you want to read that. And the Serpent here, their two heads are going in either direction. So that's really fitting to be at the center of the labyrinth, because it could be leading out to either the entrance or the exit. And there's really no orientation on this card. Depending on how the other cards come out, well, I guess it would be really irrelevant how the other cards come out. Either side could be the entrance or the exit. It's going to be up to you to discern which is which for you. And then lightning. The first thing that comes to mind is Ride the Lightning by Metallica. Oh, and there's a figure in the back. I don't know if the camera can really pick that up, but it kind of looks like, oh, what's his face? Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen. Cool. Let's see what the book says about these. 46 and 30. And I highly recommend that Watchmen show that came out. I think it was somewhere near the beginning of like all the quarantines and stuff. The worst part about that show is that I can't watch it for the first time again. It was really, really good. All right. This is not right. One more. The Serpent. That was the seer that I was on. So, the essence. The serpent is the life force of Mother Earth. The coiled serpent of the Kundalini brings passion, healing, and renewal. She offers us the fruit of the tree of knowledge in the Garden of Eden and reminds us to shed the past the way she sheds her tired old skin. Serpent comes to offer you the forbidden fruit that will set your passion and creativity free. The invitation. The serpent power of the Kundalini is stirring within your chakras, gently asking you to embrace its mystery. Shed the old skin that you have been so attached to and welcome the vulnerable pink underbelly that will bring you a fresh experience of your life. Your passion and sexuality are awakening, and this can be scary. Trust the wisdom of the serpent to transform your sensual energies into beautiful, original manifestation. When you shed the past gracefully, life will not strip it away with great drama. Indeed, that is something you want to avoid. Do not use your energies to seduce others, or allow yourself to be seduced, even by your own ideas. That was the medicine, that last section there. So that seems very fitting for Taurus, ruled by Venus, to pull something so sensual here. And the reference to the Garden of Eden as well might look into Genesis to see if there's something relevant there for you. It, if you so choose. What came to mind for me would be the story of Lilith, Adam's first wife. And I mean, I've seen interpretations that the serpent in the Garden of Eden that was tempting Eve to eat of the fruit, that was Samael, that was Lucifer. I think that was Lilith. I've seen other interpretations that have that thought as well, that it was Lilith offering the fruit, not Samael. Because, the morning star, he doesn't show up until Isaiah. So, it would make sense to me that it would be Lilith. And given that Lilith had exiled herself from paradise in order to be treated equally, it would make sense to me that she was attempting to liberate Eve, to offer her a choice, an alternate path. So wherever you fall in that, on either side of the fence, whether you interpret that it's Lilith or that it's Lucifer, if you'd like to look into those stories, I think there might be some very labyrinthy material in there. You could even look into the Gnostic texts as well, because those would fall sequentially right in front of Genesis. But I could talk about all that for a while. So let's look at lightning. Lightning. The essence. The formidable electrical discharge of a lightning bolt brightens the sky and strikes the earth, accompanied by the mighty sound of thunder. This phenomenon has a positive aspect. The light illuminates the earth and the psyche. But there is a destructive side as well. The bolt can burn and even kill if it's too strong. The invitation. The forces of the upper world are investing their gathered energies to ignite you with new inspiration and creativity. Allow this divine gift of awakening to take root in your being and enjoy a renewed sense of clarity, passion, and vision. The medicine. Life has gifted you with a destiny that is in alignment with your passion and in harmony with all existence on earth. Now lightning has come to jolt you into accepting your destiny. Let this initiation release what is in the way of your fulfilling your life's purpose. Otherwise, you'll be bound to your karmic fate. This is a time to be courageous and daring. So this is definitely giving tower vibes. Towers are often destructive change. Maybe having a little bit of a heads up. You can brace for impact. If something in your life is preventing you from accessing that which would fulfill you and would make you most happy, let the tower fall. I mean, try to control the destruction, of course, like what are they called? Controlled burns, for like clearing out dead vegetation so it doesn't like turn into a bigger fire later. Because I don't know. If I know the skid is coming, I want to be able to steer into it. I'm going to try. I'm going to pull a symbol here, something for us to maybe meditate on the center of the labyrinth here. Can help us maybe dive into it, provide a synchronicity, something like that. Could be a visualization, part of the visualization exercise, like imagining the symbol as part of the walls or on a doorway to help kind of connect in with your subconscious and your unconscious, to kind of plug those wires in to create a pathway down into the unconscious. Carefully. Friendship. Buddy system. Always a good plan. Always a good plan if you're heading deep into these healing journeys, to have somebody to talk to, like in addition to counselors and therapists and mental health professionals and stuff like that, but just a friend to like go, get coffee with. And it's 17, so that's going to combine to an 8. So a bestie, even. And they have two different types of feathers here on the ends of the arrows, but they still are commingling. Maybe a Sagittarius in your life, somebody special. Let's grab some tarot. Maybe you're friends with a snake, a Slytherin, potentially, or somebody like the Chinese zodiac. I'm sure there's a different term for that. I apologize. Mine is Serpent. I was born in the year of the snake. Maybe I'm your friend guiding you down into the labyrinth. As long as you don't mind if we listen to Metallica on the way. Let's see. Let's grab... what do we want a card for? Maybe an aspect of self that will lead us into the center of the labyrinth. Ace of Shards. So the Ace of Wands. So a new idea. The Kanaz, that rune, the creative fire. that's what I'm feeling for this, for the center of the labyrinth. That's what lies at the center, is the creative fire. That could also be what gets you to the center. So I want to try this left side here as the entrance, see what gets us down to the creative fire. The Wheel of Fortune, upright, okay. So the wheel turns. Let's see if I can get a little bit more. What happens to make the wheel turn? That doesn't feel right. What action? What situation? What's making the wheel turn? And this is the dark crystal deck. It's a dark crystal, the mystical shaman oracle, and sacred symbol oracle. Who are you? 10 of shards in reverse. So the 10 of wands in reverse. So releasing a burden turns the wheel and leads us down into the labyrinth to the creative fire. That's pretty dope. I mean, like, that sounds pretty great to me. Releasing a burden and things shift in your favor. What's the burden? Let's get a little more detail on the burden. What is the burden that we're releasing or need to release? What is the burden? Or the nature of the burden? Well, okay. The moon in reverse. Doesn't exactly clear things up, but cool card. Very Three of Pentacles up here. So did something become clear? Maybe I can't get to whatever those details are for you. But something, because this is like Pisces and Cancer energy. So illusions, the 12th house, a lot more familiar with Pisces, being Pisces sun. And at least in my case, my Cancer placement is in Chiron, so the mother wound. So if that resonates with some of you, releasing the mother wound or releasing some sort of significant like archetypal wound releases a very heavy burden. And then the wheel turns. So maybe check out your Chiron placements, because the 9 of wands is like the wounded warrior. card. So whatever was happening in that like Chiron energy right before releasing that burden, that's what's leading to the wheel turning. I'm not going to clarify that one any further. I think that will have to be up to each of you individually. So then let's see, after we do this deep dive into an archetypal wound, the wheel turns, maybe we meet a guide at the center of the labyrinth, or make friends with some part of our psyche, like the inner child that might have been suppressed by this archetypal wound. So you're definitely going to need some air after that. I don't know necessarily if you need the Suit of Swords energy, but literally you're going to need some air, like take a break. So maybe you might need some Four of Swords. We'll see what leads us out. Or this could be backwards. This could be leading us in. Six of Cups, Six of Vials in reverse. So, nostalgia. Nostalgia leads us out. This could be leading you to coming to terms with your past, to reconciling with it. Because this creative fire, you could be doing something that's helping you process those early emotions, or wherever this burden lives for you. But you're leaving something in the past behind, or some idyllic view of the past. You've stopped romanticizing the past. You're seeing the past for what it is, and that's pulling you out of the labyrinth. This is heavy. And definitely check out the movie Labyrinth if you haven't seen it. Highly recommend. Come on, feet. Really good movie. Let's see. It is the 8. This looks like an 8. Yes, I can count. Yay. So the 8 of Vials in reverse. 8 of Cups in reverse. So some resistance to leaving the past in the past. So some rumination that doesn't want to let you break out of the labyrinth. Let's see. How do we break free? I'm just assuming that this is the exit over here on the right. So how do we break free? of the Labyrinth. How do we exit? Or clear the resistance to leaving the past in the past. Well, these are coming out sideways, so I'm going to read them as in motion. Okay, so this way. So the 9 of stones, 9 of swords. Is that right? Is this upright? Well, we're reading it as in motion, so. So the nightmare card, the anxiety card, this is in the Rider-Waite deck. This card, the 9 of swords, has always stuck out to me, living with PTSD, that I see that nightmare card and ugh. It just ugh. So maybe there's something in your dreams that holds the clue, especially since the high priestess is coming out sideways as well. So energy in motion. So I think this is very reflective energy, introspective energy into whatever your psyche is presenting you with. And maybe an elevated perspective on conflicts of the past that what is that? Rafiki from Lion King. Like, the past can hurt, but you have to keep moving forward. And maybe unblocking that energy, moving on from the past. The 9 of swords going into reverse would be the more positive position, so that would be a relief of anxiety. And then the high priestess, getting in touch with your intuition, getting in touch with your higher self, your authentic self, the self that got buried under all those shards by whatever this wound was that you had to go through this hero's journey to dive deep into the psyche, because it's no joke. It sounds a little silly to, I think, compare modern things to something as epic as the monomyth is, something like Odysseus's journey. But mental health is no joke. And physical health, and just trying to get through this crazy thing we call life, that's a regular hero's journey. So whatever true friends you can find along the way, is back to the Lilith myth. My interpretation of her attempting to liberate Eve, she was acting as her friend. She's trying to help her. I think the approach may not have worked for Eve, being presented with a serpent. because she did, I think she did ultimately stay with Adam. But, I mean, if you cut to the Netflix show, she eventually came back to Earth to party with Lucifer. So it all depends on your interpretation. This can take a lot of forms. And I'm not going to pull a rune for this one, as this, to me, is the Kanaz card. I can show you what it looks like, though. So I think the runes have already spoken. Yeah. This one looks like the... Is that the greater than? I think that's the greater than sign. But keywords: light, heat, illumination, breakthrough, creative fire. I'm going to read a little bit of the book here. So, in the millennia before electricity was discovered, fire was the only man-made source of heat and light. Kanaz stands for the firebrand, or torch, which people used to heat and illuminate their dwellings, and carried from place to place to light their way. This rune represents the light in the darkness, as well as the warmth that fire provides. On a metaphysical level, this is also the light of knowledge and enlightenment. Very Labyrinth-like. I would fare a bet and say that is what lies at the Labyrinth for many of us, is that the light in the darkness. So let's get some zodiac die, though, that might shed a little light on placements, timing, so on and so forth. Let's see. So these could be placements within your chart. These could be people in your life. You know, this archetypal wound, people, situations from the past needing to move on from. Placements that might be causing resistance to moving on. Or friends. Oh, and lightning striking, creative fire. So it could, lightning strikes and the fire ignites. Lightning. Should definitely listen to Metallica too. Good old thrash metal. Ride the Lightning was absolutely a thrash album. Scorpio. What's Scorpio up to right now? I forgot. And so your Scorpio placements? I've got Pluto and Scorpio. Pluto's the hot topic right now. Uranus. So another reference to Aphrodite. So Venus is Uranus. It's Aphrodite's father. So your placements in Uranus might be relevant. I can't remember what that planet's doing either. And 8th house. 8th house. What are you for? Merging, intimacy, shared finances, and assets. So maybe that's relevant context to this situation, to whatever this, like the wounding or the burden is. Or are you resistant to merging? to individuation. That's a pretty hefty merge. But it could also be merging of, a partnership, taking things to the next level. Some resistance could be maybe generated by past arguments that haven't been resolved, that is preventing this bond from really solidifying. Could be wanting to exit a partnership, because there's also that, like, the reverse side of the shared finances and whatnot. It's the separating of those things. So because there's some in motion energy over here that could be causing some anxiety, might be feeling like you've lost touch with your authentic self in a partnership, something like that. And it could be a business partnership too, because this is Kanaz. It's the Ace of Shards, a creative fire. So it could be a creative partnership that maybe you've been in for a really long time, that you are ready to leave behind but are conflicted about it. So a few different ways that this could go. So let's get you some self-care surprises and we'll get you on your way. I think dealing with this, you definitely need some self-care. For sure. Seems a little rough. Misery. Yes. Very rough. One of my, if not my very most favorite Stephen King book. Phenomenal movie. I think Kathy Bates just knocked it out of the park. She plays unhinged so well. I really do recommend the book if you haven't read it, though. There's some scenes that didn't make it into the movie. I really enjoyed it, though. It's a really good book. "46 and 2" by Tool. Great song. Very Labyrinth-like. Spiral out. So something potentially in those lyrics. Oh, and 46. 46, 46. Do we have a 2? Oh, there's 2. 2 arrows. But definitely check out the lyrics to that song. I've always really enjoyed how Jungian that song is in the lyrics, which of course I'm blanking on the lyrics, but there's a lot of mention of the shadow and the need to transform. Really, really cool. And I would be genuinely shocked if Maynard didn't have some sort of passing familiarity with Jungian psychology. given Tool. I think that's enough said right there. But overall, I think there's a lot of material here to chew on, between getting into the labyrinth, spiraling out, and then exiting the labyrinth. And book, song, movie, and Ride the Lightning by Metallica as well. I would check that out. So overall, I hope this helps, hope this resonates, and if it doesn't, I hope the next one does. Thank you so much.